Hello and welcome to a 1v1 cast on Calderas Refinery. Just another reminder that the Monthly Rumble Tournament 23 is coming up on the 1st of May at 5 PM UTC. Be sure to check out the link in the description if you are interested in it. But starting off today, we have Kryptoleo playing as the Techmarine on the blue side of the map, and we have Big Mathis playing as the Warlock on the red side of the map. And straight away, Big Mathis is going to go for some triple Dire Avengers here. Normally do see Banshees in a Space Marine versus Eldar matchup, although some players do prefer to opt for triple Dire Avengers and then later on maybe get some Banshees, or later on opt for Rangers and Guardian Weapons team instead. But the Warlock himself very effective at dealing with Space Marine melee units in tier 1, that being ASMs with either the Merciless Witchblade or with Banshees using the channeling runes to actually fend them off. But ready. A little bit of action going on down here on the top side of the map here. Some scouts going to be fighting Warlock. Dire Avengers coming in, so the scouts deciding to back away here. Scouts unable to actually stand up against the firepower of those Dire Avengers here, unless they are behind green cover, and even then if they're behind green cover and the Dire Avengers behind green cover, the scouts will lose from having less DPS and less health together. But Techmarine in mid going to capture up that center VP. Techmarine going to be very effective in this matchup, picking off Dire Avenger models. Techmarine having the highest range DPS in the game with his default weapon. I believe it's about 33 DPS, giving him a lot of potential to actually pick away models and also allowing him to level up a bit easier, assuming that he can actually pick off these models as well. But Big Mathis is going to be grouping here in mid. Triple Dire Avengers here. The Warlock going to leap into combat here. Techmarine going to get knocked over. Tactical Marines in the area trying to tie up that Warlock or trying to fight that Warlock, but Techmarine getting specialed as soon as he got leaped upon. Going to get forced off there as he spent most of his fight in the ground. And Destructor going to go off now. Destructor doing psychic damage, very effective against heavy infantry, doing a lot of damage to those Tactical Marines, and these Dire Avengers all blobbing up together. Going to be an unstoppable force. And here are the Banshees now for Big Mathis. Power node is going to go down, going to prevent those scouts from going in for a decap. Meanwhile, Kryptoleo opting for a generator of his own, and the triple Dire Avengers going to go around and cap up the map now. Banshees going to try and chase down these scouts. There are Dire Avengers on their way as well to get some range damage onto these scouts to try and force them off. And these scouts should probably retreat at this point. They're taking quite a bit of damage here. Going to retreat back off to base, and scouts on the top side going to try and cap up now, while Big Mathis is grouped up on the bottom side of the map. Meanwhile, Tactical Marines and Techmarine going to sit defensively with some Devastators just coming out of base on the way. Devastators will need to be a little bit careful here of these triple Dire Avengers. Mathis having a lot of units. Devastators only able to suppress in a certain area at a certain time if all these Dire Avengers decide to upgrade to aspects of the Avenger, giving them the grenades, and it could be quite risky for them, although I doubt Big Mathis is going to go for triple aspect of the Avenger. I think most likely he's going to go for some Rangers as his next purchase. I don't think that he's going to go for a Guardian Weapons team in this game. The Rangers will be used to tie up or to knock back those Devastators with the Kinetic Pulse. That can always be combined with the grenades as well. If you know where they're going to get knocked down, you can just throw the grenades, and it's very unavoidable since you can't retreat or you can't move while you're on the ground, since you need to actually get up. The Devastators are going to be setting up scouts on his right hand side. They're going to be uncontested for now as Big Mathis is grouping up with his army as one big blob. Could go in for a power bash of his own, does have two Warlocks as well, leading two Dire Avenger squads. Going to be an insane amount of range damage with a third Warlock on the way for the third squad. It's definitely going to be a power bash at this point. Banshees fleeting in from behind these Devastators, going to get caught out of position here. Dire Avengers are tearing down that power at the same time as some Dire Avengers are on their way back to actually prevent these scouts from going in from capturing. Big Mathis is in need of his requisition points, given that he's gone for such a requisition heavy build. If he ends up bleeding too many models with this build, he will need a requisition in order to replace those models, and Dire Avengers are just going to chase those scouts all the way through. Banshee's going in for a capture onto the natural VP there. The Warlock is going to jump in there, was set to range style, is going to be jumping onto these Tactical Marines or the Techmarine himself. Devastators coming out of base once again. Warlock going to be leaping in, but going to be forced off here. Might do a Destructor before retreating away here though. But decides to just retreat away. I think Destructor may have been on cooldown, but the generator that Kryptoleo has now gone down. ASMs are getting purchased here to actually try and interrupt the massive ranged blob here. ASM will still need to be careful though. The Warlocks on the Dire Avenger squads, I believe they can leap into combat as well to try and knock over their ASMs, which I'm not sure if you can do it after they've been jumped on, after they've already been in melee combat. I'm not sure when the leap will sometimes take effect. I know that when you try and force melee onto a ranged unit, the leap will definitely take effect and the Warlock will leap in and knock over those ranged units. I'm not sure if it will be able to get that leap in again against ASMs in melee combat though. But Tactical Marines here, Kryptoleo now going to try and group up here. Big Mathis is very much in control of the map right now, in control of both contested power points in the second, also in control of a requisition point over here to the left hand side. Banshees as well chilling onto that area, going to be defending it, and still no rangers or anything like that for Big Mathis. Looks like he might try and just go tier 2 with the forces that he's already got. Now the ASM is coming onto the field. Banshee's going to see those ASMs here. ASM's going to get jumped upon by these Banshees. Do need to be careful, needs to turn and fight. Banshee's taking quite a lot of range damage though from these Tactical Marines. Tactical Marine model going to go down here. Techmarine also in the area, does have the Bionics, could try and use it to take down a couple of models on retreat size, and not to actually do so though. The Bionics will allow him to stay in the fight for much longer. The Artificer's armor doesn't work out too well in this particular matchup, in the sense that the mines can easily get detected by Dire Avengers, since people always buy the Warlock upgrade on them and they can detect in a radius of 15. So the Bionics tends to be the better choice, since you can actually use it to actually knock over the Banshees when they try and get into melee combat. Even if the Bionics does offer lower health regen and no extra health, or less extra health rather. The ASM is going to be engaging these Dire Avengers here. Tactical Marines with a flame. Big Mathis does see this flame and will need to make sure that he does not get forced off completely, otherwise he will lose his power farm. Do you see the Merciless Switchblade? They did see those Tactical Marines getting knocked over by the range attack of that Warlock. ASMs though do have their jump available, going to use their jump to actually escape the area, and the Warlock is coming in from the side here, going to be leaping onto those Devastators, going to allow the rest of his forces to push in even further, but the Warlock himself might even go down. He is very low, down to just 43 HP, will be able to live. Devastator is going to reset up. ASM, no energy, cannot jump in to combat at all. These Tactical Marines very low as well, at 215 HP. One Dire Avenger squad could try and force melee onto these Devastators here. A second Banshee squad even coming out here for Mathis as well. Double Banshee is going to be very effective at fighting these ASMs. These ASMs are actually going to struggle now with double Banshees on the field. In fact, the Banshee's just going to try and run into the Devastator, but the Bionic is going to come in and knock them over onto their feet there. They're going to be forced. The back to base Devastators remain set up. Dire Avengers have tried to reposition themselves while this was going on. Devastators are now out of position. The second squad of Banshees is coming out. The second squad does not have any aspect whatsoever, so cannot fleet in like the previous squad. 388 VPs to 371. The map control is now very much in favor of Kryptoleo, after being very much in favor of Big Mathis. ASM going to be engaging here, going to be regretting that, as a Warlock is going to leap in here. That Merciless Witchblade doing 130 damage per hit, an extremely effective weapon at picking off models, also draining 15 energy from units as well each swing line. The ASM so only jump in once rather than to jump in twice like they normally can when on full energy. Scouts even trying to run around here as well, but getting tied up by the Banshees here, unable to actually get that second natural requisition point away from Big Mathis, and Kryptoleo burning down one generator is forced to off here, taking a lot of damage and getting a bit overwhelmed now. The ASM were forced off, Tactical Marines Devastators forced up, and Techmarine himself is also forced away. But only getting one generator from that push, but did get a lot of map control in doing so, did get control of the two contested points, did also have the center VP as well, and also did have this requisition point over here, so even though he only got one generator in terms of damage dealt, he did get a lot of map control and did force Big Mathis to sit or group up with his army in this area for quite some time, and gained a lot from actually doing that. But Kryptoleo though, a little bit late to tier 2. Big Mathis is going to finish tier 2 just as Kryptoleo starts taking up to tier 2 himself, and Big Mathis will be able to actually get out a Falcon or a Wraith Lord by the time Kryptoleo actually hits tier 2, giving him a little bit of an advantage. Wraith Lord is probably not advised against Techmarine in particular. I think it's most likely going to be a Falcon, allowing Big Mathis to reinforce on the field. The Banshees Dire Avengers going to be so effective reinforcing the field. It's going to be very expensive to actually maintain reinforcing on the field if you try and overextend, I guess, but the Falcon would be a good choice, and also give the two Banshees a lot of mobility as well. Warlock going to land a special there. That special does actually track, so even if the scouts did get out of range, they still get knocked over by that special. Some webway gates going to go up. It's going to be some Banshee Exarchs here now, or one Banshee Exarch at the very least. Meanwhile, Big Mathis with only 200 requisitions doesn't actually have the requisition to buy a Falcon. Does have enough power though. Could even go in for some more upgrades here. Could even go for the Cloak of Shadows, given that neither of these scouts have actually got the Sergeant leading them, so there's no detection whatsoever here for Kryptoleo. The Cloak of Shadows will just force a scout's purchase and might not be too effective. The scout's taking quite a lot of damage here. Going to get forced off here. None of these Dire Avengers with any aspects of the Avenger upgrades, so no grenades on retreat. A second Banshee Exarch has been purchased. A lot of heavy melee now available here for Big Mathis. It comes tier 2. Oops, I don't know what happened to the camera there. May have misclicked, but the ASM, I think, most likely need a Sergeant. They need the Merciless Strike to actually sustain against the Banshees, or to knock back the Banshees before they get surrounded. Techmarine with the Bionics is going to also come in very useful against these double Banshees, and a very nice power bash coming in here for Kryptoleo. Some Tactical Marines managed to sneak over to this Journey's of Farm, going to be able to burn it down. At the same time, Big Mathis orders forces over here on this right hand side. He needs to retaliate with a power bash of his own in order to neutralize the power lead. The ASM is going to be engaging here without their Sergeant, definitely not going to be able to stand up against these Banshees, and it's going to be the Cloak of Shadows purchase as well here, and the Warlock is going to be leaping in onto that Devastator squad. Devastator's not focusing down that Warlock, going to get tied up here, going to be losing their model here if they're not careful. Warlock should be able to get a model here at the very least. Banshee's going to be pushing in even further. Dire Avengers needs to start tearing down that Journey's of Farm. Devastator's still not losing a model here, but getting knocked over here, and even Gain Special will lose a model here, but Devastator's forced all the way back to base. Some more Banshees are going to be coming in here. Once again, Banshees on the right hand side going to be getting that contested power point as well, and also destroying the power node that was actually there. Kryptoleo hasn't actually bought anything yet. He might even go for a Dreadnought here. A melee Dreadnought would actually be very good right now. Big Mathis without any Guardian Weapons team, without any Warp Spiders, without any Fire Dragons. A Dreadnought here could just stomp on the army of Big Mathis as it is, but Big Mathis does actually have the resources if he needs to counter this Dreadnought with some Fire Dragons or something along the likes of that. But Kryptoleo deciding to go for that ASM Sergeant here. The ASMs though getting absolutely destroyed in melee combat there by the Banshees. Going to be losing the model. The Sergeant has now been seen by Big Mathis. The Techmarine is going to try and poke down at some models here of his own. Banshees really need to fall back to that webway gate and use the healing from the gates, since the Warlock gates do heal, and there goes the healing now. Banshee's going to get some extra health. Devastator's going to get a model taken away from them before they can suppress those Dire Avengers here. Going to be focusing those Banshees instead. The Dire Avengers should be able to take down these Devastators if the Devastators do not retreat away. On the rest of the map, these Flame Tactical Marines are able to actually decap the power and capture it for themselves. Banshee is going to try and force them off. The Sergeant is the only model alive now. Techmarine going to try and force melee on these Dire Avengers, but Dire Avengers with the Warlock going to be leaping into combat. The third Dire Avenger squad is going to join the others. Banshee's retreating away as Banshees try and chase down that one Tactical Marine squad with just the Sergeant remaining. ASM is going to be jumping onto these Dire Avengers here. Could try and enter the webway gates and fall back to some Banshees instead here. But instead, looks like they might try and kite around. ASM going to be jumping onto this lone Dire Avenger squad here, but the Banshee's already in the area, going to be leaping into combat. The ASM now forced away here. Still no Dreadnought out for Kryptoleo, only 10 power away, and I think a Dreadnought is definitely going to be the purchase here for him. Big Mathis, though, with a lot of resources of his own, could try and get something out very big himself. Could get a Falcon, could get a Wraith Lord. Might even try to take up 2 tier 3, although I think that's going to be a bit unwise in this game, given that he is also behind on VPs by 100. And I think that a big tier 2 purchase is going to be his next thing, although he might try and wait and see what Kryptoleo is going to purchase and just react to it rather than actually spending anything just yet, since the forces that he have got, or he has right now, are very effective against the forces that Kryptoleo has. But Journey's going to go down on that left hand side. The Warlock is now reclaiming the natural generator farm here. Big Mathis might actually spend his requisition, since he's got quite a bit of it, on getting some extra power here. Some more upgrades have also been purchased as well on somewhere. I think it was another Banshee Exarch, since one was lost previously. Or was it Aspect of the Avenger? That looks like it's Aspect of the Avenger instead. On all the Dire Avenger squads here, that's where the power has actually been spent, so grenades are going to be available here. A Warp Spider squad, actually, against this melee Dreadnought. The Haywire grenades to slow the Dreadnought down to nothing, along with the triple Dire Avenger grenades, could actually scare off that Dreadnought, to be honest. Grenades do extra damage to vehicles in the most recent patch 2.5.1 compared to 2.4, so the triple grenades will actually do about 600-ish damage. About half the health of the Dreadnought might be enough to actually scare it off. I don't think that Big Mathis is going to go for that particular build though, but it might be something to even just consider. It's better used against transports rather than melee walkers, since melee walkers have so much health you can't really kill it with grenades, or you can try and kill it with grenades, but it's not going to be the most efficient. And the Dreadnought that is also coming out, I really think that should remain in as a melee Dreadnought. Standguard Veterans as well, going to be a new upgrade for the Tactical Marines here. Grenades going to get thrown onto the Devastator squad, going to catch them out, going to lose 2 models there by the looks of it, but the melee Dreadnought coming in though is definitely going to scare Big Mathis off there. Very nice Bionics there from the Techmarine, knocking back those Banshees. Banshees will need to leave the area as this melee Dreadnought comes in. Do not want to lose that Exarch. The Exarch is going to be in risk of going down here if not careful. In fact, the Exarch is going to be the only model remaining here. Barely able to escape there with 50 HP or 37. In fact, Banshee Exarch getting very low down, just 30 HP. The Scout's going to get forced off. Scouts will definitely need to remain alive to repair this Dreadnought. Techmarine also able to repair that Dreadnought. There's triple repairs there for that Dreadnought, so it should remain alive, and Fire Dragons are going to be the source of AV here for Big Mathis. Fire Dragons going to be extremely efficient. Could even consider getting the Hearts of Darkness upgrade as well onto the Warlock to give those Fire Dragons an extra free movement speed for a short amount of time. And the Banshee flank going to get these Devastators killed here. Standguard veterans going to try and fight these Banshees, but they do not actually have the None Shall Fall, not the None Shall Fall, they shall know no fear ability, since it is not charged yet, although now taking quite a lot of damage here, it will be close to charged at this point. ASM is going to be jumping onto these Dire Avengers here. The Warlock is coming in. Dire Avengers going to get forced off here. Scouts also trying to do what they can as well. Warlock might be able to take down a model from these ASMs. He is focusing down that one particular model. He's actually focusing down the Sergeant. The Sergeant himself is actually very low in this ASM squad. The Sergeant will go down, and the Warlock actually able to get that one more hit that he needed to take down the ASM Sergeant in that engagement here. Kryptoleo losing Devastators and just now down to Scouts for ranged fire, along with the Techmarine himself. And everyone going to be vacating this webway gate in the center of the map here. The Dreadnought is on its way. It's getting the Assault Cannon upgrade. I really don't think the Assault Cannon upgrade is going to help out here. There are two Banshee squads, both Banshees with a heavy melee Exarch, and that Dreadnought, once it loses its melee resistance, will actually struggle against the Banshees with the heavy melee Exarch. Unless the Dreadnought focuses down the Exarch in melee combat, the Exarch is going to be able to get lots of damage onto that Dreadnought all day. The Techmarine with the Bionics might be able to try and protect the Dreadnought. If there was double shotgun scouts, then you could definitely go for the Assault Cannon, since you can use a shotgun blast to knock the Banshees away from the Dreadnought and help keep it protected here. But I don't know about this Assault Cannon Dreadnought choice. ASM is going to be engaged in a very nice assault barrage there, point blank, going to force one Banshee squad off, but the Fire Dragons are firing away, firing at the ASM instead. ASM squad is going to go down here for Kryptoleo. The Fire Dragons are now forced off. That Assault Cannon Dreadnought is free to do what it wants for the remainder of this fight. The Standguard veterans are going to get forced off here. The Warlock chasing down that Techmarine. These Standguards taking an insane amount of damage here. Are going to lose another model. Could even lose a third model there to the Warlock. Now the Dreadnought is going to be the target. Blessing of the Omnizire was used there, maybe a bit prematurely there, since the Dreadnought was already full health while the ability has been going off here. Dire Avengers going to be pushing in on the left hand side. Webway gates just placed all over the map here. Some shotgun scouts may be needed, or some fully upgraded scouts may be needed at this point, with both the Sergeant and the Shotgun to get the Banshees away from this Dreadnought, since there's no melee resistance, and the Sergeant to actually detect these gates as well. The Warlock going to get forced away here. 283 VPs to 247 Kryptoleo, with not enough resources to really buy any other units for now. Could consider the upgrades on those scouts, or might even consider a second Dreadnought, this time being a melee Dreadnought, which will force Big Mathis into having to buy even more AV. But Big Mathis with a very requisition heavy army. There goes the Scout Sergeant though. Try to throw a grenade in mid, going to be unsuccessful in doing so, and will get forced off over the Warlock leaping into combat. Fire Dragons coming in here as well, going to get a scout model killed potentially.
One of our initiates has fallen.
Well, a Warlock might take out a scout model, but instead it'll be a plasma grenade that actually does the job. For Kryptoleo, his forces remain a little bit low right now, but nearly enough resources to get out a second Dreadnought, and I really think they should consider getting out a second Dreadnought at this point, and is purchasing that second Dreadnought. Meanwhile, Big Mathis is going to be taken up to Tier 3. Tier 3 means that he could get out a Fire Prism, making it very hard for these double Dreadnoughts to actually do their work here. But I think a Fire Prism is a little bit long ways off, although Big Mathis with enough power to actually get the Fire Prism out straight away if he gets it into Tier 2 is lacking on the requisition. These double Dreadnoughts really need to start bleeding models as quickly as possible to force Big Mathis into not getting a Fire Prism. And now Banshee's going to be jumping all over this Dreadnought. The Dreadnought now unable to actually protect itself. There is no Assault Barrage Cannon, since it does have a minimum range. A very nice balance so from Techmarine to get those Banshees away, but the Fire Dragons are chasing. Do have the Exarch as well leading the squad here. Warlock is also trying to chase in the area. Scout Grenade could get thrown down. Scout Grenade did get thrown down there by the looks of it, but the Scouts getting a little bit too close for comfort here. Going to take quite a lot of damage themselves, as now the Banshees and Fire Dragons decide to switch focus there, and a Shotgun is going to knock these Banshees away. The second Dreadnought has been seen at an extremely nice Assault Barrage. They're going to be catching out these Banshees, and that is exactly the kind of bleed that Kryptoleo needs to inflict on Big Mathis in order to prevent him from getting out a Fire Prism. But still, The Fire Prism, I think, is going to be fairly close. Big Mathis with 220 requisitions saved up right now will need to actually spend a majority of his requisition, in fact, to reinforce these Banshees that he lost in that engagement here. Kryptoleo going to lose this generator farm if he's not careful here. Fire Dragons going to be in risk of bleeding some models, but not going to be able to bleed any models today, but that webway gates will definitely be going down. Kryptoleo with a lot of red stored up definitely has the resources to spam Blessing of the Omnizite in the next upcoming engagements here. Fire Dragon's going to be jumping in on this power bash as well at top here with the Dire Avengers here. Do need to be careful though. If that webway gate goes down, they'll have nothing to escape to, and we'll need to retreat, and we'll need to retreat through this melee dreadnought, which will be very scary in itself. A Big Mathis here with a lot of resources saved up, still only on about 300 resources, still getting it very close to the Fire Prism. Fire Prism going to be very scary here for Kryptoleo to actually deal with here. Forces are going to reveal this webway gate if they're not careful. There's a second webway gate going down here to actually hide the fact that this webway gate is actually up here. Very smart from Big Mathis here. Some more models are going to get bled here. A very nice assault cannon barrage. They're going to catch out one of those Dire Avenger squads. One of the squads deciding to retreat away here at melee dreadnought, and this dreadnought needs to start focusing melee down. Could be a dead squad, and the Warlock will go down. The squad, in fact, is going to go down overall. Is that a third Banshee squad here for Mathis? Why can't I click on it? There's 3 Banshee squads according to the user interface, and the Fire Dragons have died. That can't be right, can it? I'm pretty sure this is a user interface bug here. There is not a third Banshee squad this late in the game. Nope, the Banshee squad is now turned into a Fire Dragon squad. I'm not sure what happened there with the user interface, but I would be very surprised about a very late game Banshee squad when you can just get a Seer Council out. But no, the Fire Dragons are now back into play. Big Mathis could even consider going for an Avatar at this point, given that he does actually have the power saved up to go for it, although I think an Avatar is probably not going to get on the field quick enough. But at the same time, 205 VPs to 215 here. Big Mathis in the lead though, with 15 VPs, not by much though. Some fully upgraded scouts coming in here, and I did mention that earlier. These fully upgraded scouts are going to be very efficient at getting the Banshees off the Dreadnoughts, going to be good for spotting these webway gates. Sun Guard veterans though should switch to Kraken rounds when trying to focus down these Fire Dragons. Kraken rounds are more effective against heavy infantry rather than using the anti-infantry rounds, which I always forget the name of, which is not very good of me. But Fire Dragon's going to enter this webway gate. In fact, Banshee's going to vacate the gate and going to force off those Stern Guard veterans. The Dire Avengers in mid, getting very low right now. And if Kryptoleo keeps on killing all these Dire Avenger squads, it's going to mean that there's going to be no Fire Prism now. In fact, with the resources that Big Mathis has got saved up, there is definitely not going to be a Fire Prism at this point. It is going to be an Avatar. Cloak of Shadows getting used here. Techmarine is going to need to back away here. The Double Dreadnought should easily be able to fight off this army though. Melee Dreadnought should be able to tie up the Banshees, while the Assault Cannon one could even force melee onto the Fire Dragons instead actually. I think the Assault Cannon should force melee onto these Fire Dragons again, all the units wronged here, and the Melee Dreadnought can fight off the 2 Banshees. That would be the ideal thing here for Kryptoleo to do. He needs to not be as scared of these Fire Dragons, even though they are doing an insane amount of damage. These Banshees are getting a little bit caught out here, but Big Mathis is going to lose a couple of models here, going to lose a lot of models in fact. But these Fire Dragons still remain on the fight. Kryptoleo is, I think, acting a little bit scared of them. He does have a lot of red for Blessing of the Omnizite should his Dreadnoughts get below half health here. And he's getting a third Dreadnought. Needs to keep this Dreadnought, in particular a Melee Dreadnought, given that there's now an Avatar on the field. We'll need to actually fight the Avatar with these Melee Dreadnoughts and try and keep it in control like that. And we'll have to use these Stern Guard veterans as well. And Techmarine, the Plasma Gun on the Techmarine will also need to come in as well to actually deal with the Avatar, since it is super heavy infantry. The Techmarine with the Plasma Overcharge should be able to deal quite a lot of damage to that Avatar, along with these along with 3 Dreadnoughts, 2 of them being a melee variant. The Scout's going to detect some more webway gates. Dire Avengers though going to go down here once again. You need to keep a Dire Avenger squad alive at the very least here. In fact, these Dire Avengers are taking a lot of damage, a lot of model losses as well. Going to fleet away, going to maybe try and run back to a gate rather than retreat away. But Techmarine trying to force melee here on some Fire Dragons. Fire Dragons immune to knockback though. Bionics will knock them over. But the Banshee's going to be fleecing onto these Scouts here. Scouts looking like they got hit by their own grenade. They're very unfortunate for them. They will be going down. They are really needed actually to repair the Dreadnoughts. Triple Dreadnoughts are quite high maintenance in the sense that you've got 3 things to actually repair up. As much as you've got the Blessing of the Omnissiah ability, you can't just use that all the time. Anytime you want to get some repairs onto your Dreadnought. But here comes the Avatar. There are 3 Dreadnoughts on the field. That 3rd Dreadnought is a melee variant. Dire Avengers have just gone down. Big Mathis, the user interface, is once again showing that it's triple Banshees. Now goes back to the Fire Dragons here. These scouts really need to retreat away. The Avatar doing 240 heavy melee damage per swing with that sword that he is armed with. Very scary amount, but it's a very slow amount. I believe he only attacks once every 3 seconds, so as much as it's 240 heavy melee per hit, it's only 80 heavy melee DPS overall. But all the Dreadnoughts are on their way. Blessing of the Omnissiah is used here. Not sure if Blessing of the Omnissiah should have got used here. I think that the Dreadnoughts were healthy enough that they could have just got repaired up by some scouts or the Techmarine before the next engagement here. But the 2 Dreadnoughts in melee is definitely going to be a struggle here for the Avatar to face. 1 Dreadnought can keep the Avatar tied up, 1 Dreadnought keeps the 2 Banshees tied up, and the Assault Cannon Dreadnought forces melee onto those Fire Dragons. And that's what Kryptoleo, I think, should probably try and do with the Dreadnoughts if he's able to actually get into a situation where he can do that. But that Webway Gate getting absolutely torn apart there by the triple Dreadnought. Kryptoleo unable to actually afford another Dreadnought. His requisition income very low right now, actually at 144 and only 20 power income as well at the same time. Is going to need to pinch all the pennies if he wants another Dreadnought to actually come in. In fact, he's not in control of a single requisition point at this point in time. I think the Stern Guards should become decapping units here for him, and keeping the Dreadnoughts with the Scouts and Techmarine all together in the center to actually fight off the armies of Big Mathis. But the Avatar, that is going to be a very painful Wailing Doom. All the Dreadnoughts going to get caught out there. Not doing too much damage to the Dreadnoughts, but going to do quite a lot of damage here to these Scouts, but they do have the elite training, so they do actually have quite a lot of health regen. The Fire Dragon's going to be coming out, the Scouts going to get forced off. They should have used a shotgun blast on those Fire Dragons to actually suppress them. They're going to enter this gate now. The Dreadnought has taken quite a lot of damage. Blessing of the Omnissiah is really needed here, but it's actually on cooldown for now. Banshee's going to come in here for that Assault Cannon Dreadnought. 1 melee Dreadnought is on the way. This Barrage is going to do more friendly fire damage than anything else, and that 1 Assault Cannon Dreadnought is getting tied up. Fire Dragon is going to see you chase down this other Dreadnought. Techmarine is going to try and tie up the Fire Dragons himself here. The melee Dreadnought needs to use Emperor's Fist here to stun those Banshees. Banshee's going to get forced off. That 1 Dreadnought though gained very low here. Fire Dragon's really trying to chase down that 1 melee variant Dreadnought. These 2 Dreadnoughts here needs to come in. No, the Dreadnought, it does an Emperor's Fist rather than goes into melee combat, then actually will go down here without taking down a single Fire Dragon model. And that was the one that was fresh out the gates here, did not have any experience whatsoever. The 2nd melee Dreadnought though going to try and chase down this Avatar, and the Fire Prism is going to follow up this Avatar as well. The Fire Prism doesn't actually have any repair support whatsoever, but at the same time Kryptoleo without any AV support himself, so he will not be able to do any damage to the Fire Prism unless he actually manages to melee it down. 172 VPs to 148. Kryptoleo is still ahead of the VPs right now, even though it's a 1-0 cap in the hit against him. Another Wailing Doom about to go down here. Standguard Veteran is going to kill that Webway Gate. Scouts are in the area here. That Assault Cannon Dreadnought trying to attack those Fire Dragons. The Avatar now fighting that Assault Cannon Dreadnought, which has no melee resistance whatsoever, will be taking full damage there from that 240 heavy melee damage per swing. Stern Guards with the Vengeance rounds here against this Avatar. Kraken rounds not effective since they only do extra damage against heavy infantry, and this Avatar is super heavy infantry. Melee Dreadnought trying to melee down the Avatar, but the Avatar very difficult to actually kill. Banshee's exiting a gate here as well. Shotgun Scouts could use their Shotgun Blast, instead throwing a grenade onto the feet. They do have 60 energy still, so they can actually use the Shotgun Blast if it is off cooldown. For Prism gain a little bit too close here to the Dreadnought. And the Assault Barrage going to go down, doing a lot of friendly fire damage to these Scouts. The Banshees can even jump onto these Scouts to try and kill the repair support here. The double Dreadnought trying to back away here. This 1 Scout squad though very low here. The Banshees could definitely turn and focus him down. But the Banshee is going to be retreating away. The other Banshee's not close enough to finish off that particular squad. Fire Dragon is coming out to the gate as well. That's going to be a 2nd melee Dreadnought going to go down here. Banshee's even trying to chase in. The Assault Cannon Dreadnought's trying to do what he can, but he can't really do too much. The Assault Cannon Dreadnought though is level 4 though. Techmarine even going to go down here. By the looks of it, Fire Dragon is going to chase away with the Fire Prism. In fact, the Banshee is going to get the kill on him. Kryptoleo does call GG here, and the Dreadnoughts will fall this day. Be sure to check out the link in the description note for the monthly Rumble tournament for details if you want to sign up and play, or if you just want to watch on the day.